Thanks for joining us. I'm Anita Bath. Mounties, first responders, and community members gathered in Langley today to remember Constable Rick O'Brien, a man said to be full of life.
He was full of life and full of laughter. I feel honored to have known Rick, and I can honestly say there will never be another person quite like my friend.
O'Brien was dedicated to his work as an officer and valued the time he spent in his community. He was killed last month while executing a drug-related search warrant. He was a beloved husband, friend, and the father of 6 children.
Rick loved to attend schools any chance that he got, and he cherished all the positive interactions that he had with youth.
He died at 51 years old, survived by his wife Nicole and his children Cindy, Taylor, Chelsea, Isaac, Braden, and Bryce. Our Liam Britton is live with me now after being at the ceremony all day today. Liam, I imagine a very somber and emotional service.
Yeah, that's right, Anita. If you've never seen one of these law enforcement funeral processions, they're quite a scene to mark what's truly a tragic loss. You know, I saw police from Langley, Vancouver, Abbotsford, New Westminster, Surrey, Delta, Saanich, even state troopers from the U.S., and I'm sure that's not an exhaustive list, plus firefighters, paramedics, Canadian Forces personnel, corrections officers. Mounties believe there were 3,000 marchers in support of O'Brien's family in Langley, so absolutely a spectacle, colorful and dramatic, but of course a dignified and reserved one. You could see the emotion on the expressions of these officers and others as they marched down the street. The whole procession moved into the Langley Event Center for further tribute to O'Brien. We heard from family friend reading words from his widow. She spoke of the couple falling in love, raising their blended family of 6 kids, and about a vacation never taken. We also heard from his colleagues about the kind of officer he was, including his lighter side. Here's one of O'Brien's police colleagues.
Rick also had a grumpy side, although we like to joke that he wasn't very good at staying grumpy. One of his watch commanders, Scott Grimmer, remembers Rick walking in early for every shift with the largest cup of coffee McDonald's would sell and a tired scowl on his face. Scott would cheerfully welcome Rick back to work and ask, "Had enough coffee yet?" Rick would try to maintain his scowl, but would always end up smiling. "Yeah, I have."
And Liam, what about the people who were there? Did you get a chance to talk to any of them?
Well, yeah, we managed to speak to a few of the people lining 202A Street this afternoon. There were a few dozen wearing red in support of this slain officer, his family and colleagues. One person had a sign thanking police for their work, and these women had sons and a son-in-law who are Mounties. I asked them what it was like to hear that this officer, O'Brien, had been killed.
Well, stunned and distraught, and just it's not something we dwell on as families, but it hits very close to home when it happens.
So as you mentioned, Anita, Constable O'Brien was shot and killed executing a search warrant in Coquitlam. Prosecutors have charged 25-year-old Nicholas Bellamar with first-degree murder and a second count of attempted murder with a firearm. None of these allegations against him have been tested. Online court records show his next appearance is November 7th, and obviously proceedings we'll be keeping an eye on.
Liam Britton reporting live for us tonight.
Help! 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 Help!
You're here today to honor our fallen hero, Constable Rick O'Brien of Ridge Meadows Detachment, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and to recognize the ultimate sacrifice he has made in the line of duty to keep our communities safe.
The world has changed with this loss. We can't say enough, but we want to say, well done, Rick. We love you.
I wish I could have done more to help. We're also very proud of you. We love you, and you will be missed.
I feel honored to have known Rick, and I can honestly say there will never be another person quite like my friend.
Rick loved to give hugs, a gift that he inherited from my mom. Rick's oldest daughter, Cindy, would like for all of you to know that every time she had a school play, Rick was there. He would watch with pride, and then he'd be the first to present her with a bouquet of roses and a big hug.
How do I ever imagine life without you? When our whole life was planned around being together and watching the kids grow up, we really did fit a lifetime of adventures into the last 11 and a half years. My very favorite thing about you is loving you and the way you love me back. The love we shared will be the one thing I will cherish the most. A once-in-a-lifetime kind of love, a storybook love, a love that we both never knew existed.
To widen our lens on this, Doug King joins me live now. He's a professor of criminal justice at Mount Royal University. You know, it's been less than a year since Constable Shaylin Yang was stabbed to death in Burnaby, and 2023 is on track to be the deadliest year for Canadian police in decades. What do these deaths say about the current state of policing and officer safety?
You know, I think it's a pretty important barometer that policing is becoming more and more dangerous as a profession. It's always been dangerous in terms of responding to certain calls for service, violence, perpetrators with weapons. But the world has changed in the last 3 or 4 years, and policing is becoming more and more dangerous. And unfortunately, we're starting to see the consequence of this with not just in the Lower Mainland, but in Edmonton, there were 2 police officers shot in the hallway, and you go across Canada. It's happening across Canada. It's happening in the United States. And it's unfortunately a trend that there really doesn't seem to be an end to it in the immediate future.
How concerning is this in terms of recruitment and trying to bring more people into the policing service?
You know, it's a really good question. The Edmonton Police Service and the Calgary Police Service reported that there was an uptick in applications after the 2 officers in Edmonton were shot and killed. So I think in some instances it actually empowers individuals to say, that's the job I want to do. That's the kind of protection I want to provide society. But I teach a lot of students, and most of them do not want to become police officers anymore. They're really aware of the dangers. They're saying, I don't want to put myself, my family, my community into that risk. And so it cuts both ways, but it does have a negative impact in the long run.
Yeah, an uptick is quite surprising, just given what has happened in this country this year. Can you talk about de-escalation training? How does that play a role in saving the lives of both officers and those involved in a crime?
You know, I think you have to look at it from kind of a really kind of objective, detached point of view. The training does work. It makes officers safer. They now have some tools outside of use of force to intervene in really challenging situations. But the reality of police training and the reality of policing is no matter how good your training is, and no matter how much precaution you take in responding to a call, it is still extraordinarily dangerous. And I think, you know, if you're going to be serving a search warrant, you will take every protection in the world, but then stuff happens. Here in Alberta, when the 2 officers were shot in Edmonton, they were responding to a call for service, and they were shot through a door. You can't really expect that, and your training's not going to dampen that risk to much degree. So you have to accept that it's risky, but the de-escalation training and how you respond to a call for service that involves potential risk involving more than one responder and things like that keeps officers safer, but it doesn't keep them completely safe.
Doug King is a professor of criminal justice at Mount Royal University and joins us live tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.